Welcome to another edition of Strip Poker. For the past few weeks, ESPN has been airing episodes of the World Series of Poker Main Event. For those of you who have been watching, you probably remember one special player who competed with a severe disadvantage compared to the rest of the field. Hal Lubarsky, who is legally blind, finished 195th place out of the more than 6,000 players who started, with the help of his partner Jason Williams. Now, Hal lives right here in Las Vegas, so we're going to go talk to him about his amazing run. When did you move to Las Vegas?
I moved to Las Vegas approximately 20 years ago. I was about 26 years old. I came out here to play poker, and I was playing back east. Poker wasn't legal yet, like in Atlantic City. I was a dealer at one time in Atlantic City and playing in like house games and clubs. And then I moved out here to, play professionally.
Were you playing professionally back home before you moved to Las Vegas?
I was playing to win, but I was winning most of the time. The competition wasn't too tough, but I wasn't playing professionally.
So how did it go once you got here? What games were you playing?
Well, when I first got here, I realized I used to play 7-card stud, like when I would come to Vegas and I didn't live here, and play 7-card stud in different games. Hold'em wasn't as popular yet back east. And when I was first moving out here, I started to play Hold'em because I realized with my vision getting worse, that would be the game I would have the most longevity in, because you don't have to see all the cards on the board, just the cards in the middle. Mm-hmm. So I started playing Hold'em. I started playing 3-6 Hold'em, and then I moved up to 10-20, 20-40, 40-80, and then I started playing different board games. Like I eventually went back to like playing stud 8 or better instead. I was playing games called Horse, where you play like all different games all at one time, like you play 8 hands of each. Mm-hmm. And I basically was playing all different games until I lost my vision, or most of my vision.
And when was that?
It was approximately 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. I was still playing, and I was playing by myself, but the dealer was helping me with the cards in the middle. Sometimes I went back to just playing Hold'em for maybe the last year that I was playing live by myself, and I was playing Hold'em, but it got a little tough, and the dealer a lot of times would have to help me with the cards in the middle. I was still able to see my own 2 cards, and then when it started getting tough seeing my own 2 cards, that's when I quit. Luckily, internet poker had grown so big that I was able to switch over to the internet. I started playing on sites like Full Tilt and Party Poker and stuff like that, and I was able to play, not seeing myself, but playing with a friend, like where he would play one screen and he would help me play the other screen, tell me what I had, same as like Jason does for me in the casino, but we would do it in the house on the computer.
And when did you meet Jason?
Huh?
When did you meet Jason?
Meet Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Approximately maybe 3-4 months ago. I went back to playing live poker approximately 5-6 months ago, and I had a reader, and a couple times we went into a bar that Jason was working in, and Jason was the bartender. We went in there, and Jason was a big fan of poker. Like, we would go in the bar, and every TV in the place had on poker shows.
Did you put on the poker shows?
Of course.
Were you responsible for changing the channels?
Yep.
Jason, tell us about your poker experience.
Before I moved out here 3 years ago, it was all just home games, family.
Where did you move from?
I moved here from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was all just penny, family home games with, every different crazy version of poker. And then when I moved out here, I started playing low limit, 2-4, 3-6, occasionally 4-8, and it was mostly just for fun, never, about I'm trying to pay bills with this. Mm-hmm. But then I moved out here right after the moneymaker explosion with poker, so as it started getting bigger and bigger, I started realizing that there might be a way to make a living at it, and that's where my fascination with the game started growing and growing, and he came along.
Johnny Moss was getting kind of old and senile, unfortunately, and he kind of called me the kid when I met him. I was younger, about 20 years ago, and that was when I first started playing high limit poker, was with Johnny Moss. And one time I went in there and into the World Series. It wasn't starting yet. It was the day before, and they were playing satellites for the first event. And the night before, like, Johnny lost like $10,000 in the game, and which he would like lose every day. And now I go in the next day, he's trying to win a seat in a $1,000 tournament, and he's playing a one-table satellite, and I go up to him and he says, "Hey kid," and I was only there looking for somebody, and he called me over. My wife was waiting outside, and he says, "Come sit down next to me." And you're not allowed to sit down next to somebody when they're playing a satellite, but Johnny Moss was like, a legend. Mm-hmm. And the guy he's playing heads up says, "You can't sit there." "Trust me, I can." Johnny says, "You can sit, you can sit." So I sit down, and he calls the floor man over. The floor man says, "Hey, he wants out to sit, he can sit." So I watched Johnny play, and he played like really well this Hold'em satellite. I was like impressed because we play Omaha with him. He was terrible. It was like almost a shame. I used to almost feel guilty taking his money. Because he'd call low and there'd be no low. He'd call flush, there'd be no flush, like 10 times a night.
He would misread his hands a lot.
Like even 10 times a night. Mm-hmm. It would just every night how much he'll lose, And we would start off playing 75, 150, and when Johnny would get stuck too much, he'd say, "We're playing 100, 200, then we're playing 200, 400. Whatever he wanted to play, that's what we played." Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like a joke. I remember the first time I played with him, I just took the blinds, and now it's my turn to have the button. And Johnny gets up and he takes the button and moves over here. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm moving seats. I'm taking the button with me. I just had the blind." I'm like, "You can't do that. It's my button." They call over the phone man. They say, "Yes, you can." So Johnny just did anything he wanted. He got treated like king, but he would lose all the money, so everything was okay.
Did he end up winning that satellite?
He wound up winning that satellite, and I went outside and I told my wife I was so happy, I had like goosebumps because he was so happy. They gave him a standing ovation. All the people that were there, they announced Johnny Moss, however old he was, 90 years old, he just won a satellite. Mm-hmm. He looked so happy. All it was a $1,000 seat, which he had no chance of winning anything, but he was just so happy. And, I felt so good for him because, for the first time he seemed so happy. Then that night I go in and he calls me over to him. The place was so crowded, there was nowhere to sit. I was like 20th on the list. And he calls me over, "Come have a seat." And I was like so delighted I got a place to sit. And I sit down next to him, and I'm sitting watching him for like 2-3 hours. Finally, we get up. I take him to the bathroom. I walk with him to the bathroom. And then we go to the bathroom. He comes out, and he says, "Hey, Hal." I says, "Hey, Johnny." He says, "I'm playing inside. You want to come watch me?" I mean, I'm waiting outside for him. And I said, "Okay, Johnny." And I look at him like, "Okay." Sure. Then he says to me on the way there, I said, "What are you playing?" And he says, "Deuce to 7. Wait till you see it. It's a great game." I said, "Okay." And now we walk in there. He says to me, he says, "Hey," he says, "guess what?" I says, "What?" He says, "I won a satellite this morning." I'm like, "No."
Oh, really?
Really? I'm like, "No, Johnny, come on. You're too old to win a satellite." No, really. And I just tried to make him feel good. I didn't tell him I was there. No need to make him feel bad.
Right. At that point,
and he was, he died maybe a year later.
Mm-hmm. How often do you guys go out and play here in Vegas?
Now, me and Jason are going out like 6 nights a week. Jason, when I first hired him, he was my part-time reader, and Mike was my full-time reader. Mm-hmm. And since on, Mike has went on to doing something else, and Jason has replaced him. And so Mike is going, and now Jason is the full-time reader. And we usually go out like 5-6 nights a week.
Where do you usually play?
The Mirage is my place of choice. But we also play at Caesars and the Bellagio, one of those 3 houses.
What do you think your edge is at the poker table?
My edge, I guess, well, now I switched to no limit. For the 30 years that I played poker before, I always played limit. And now since coming back, like the last 5-6 months, I've been playing no limit because it moves a little slower, and not being able to see, maybe a little slower is better. And so a lot of the players have more experience than me in the no limit, but I just have a little bit more poker experience than them. I think maybe money management. I'm not able to pick up on tells, but I'm able to pick up on their betting patterns and stuff like that. And a lot of the people, they bet the same pattern all the time, where you're able to figure out what they're doing by their betting patterns. We were playing last night, and a guy was talking nonchalantly to the dealer as the hand was being turned over, and he just continued talking, and I knew, he must have an ace. I had an ace also, but I thought I had an ace-10 of clubs, and I just figured he had me out-kicked when he came an ace, because he just seemed so cool when talking to the dealer, and then made the bet, and there was another player in. And he happened to have the same ace-10 as me, but the other player had me beat at the time. I would have wound up making a backdoor flush. But when I laid the hand down, it was the worst hand at the time.
It's just you get kind of awed, you know, because I know how difficult it is to be a consistent winning player at the game, and especially at the World Series. I mean, there is a lot of dead money in those tournaments, and Hal is certainly not dead money, but it's still, I mean, to go for as long as you have to without getting unlucky, and always getting your money in good, and to do it the way he did it it's pretty impressive, and especially for a guy like me who is a fan and who does understand the game, to see what he did was pretty impressive. You know, I remember one hand where the guy had absolutely nothing, but he bet it the whole way, and Hal had just a little bit more of nothing and ended up winning the hand, and it was just, it's like, how do you make that call? You know, I could never have made it, and it was really impressive to see.
Hal, what was your greatest moment in the World Series of Poker this year?
Well, I hated getting knocked out, but I really admired or liked the speech that Nolan Dower gave when I got knocked out. I was impressed with the speech that he gave, and how the players and the people that were watching, you know, reacted to it. And I think basically overall I was just so impressed at how nice the people were, all 6,300 players, and the people that were around. Every time we would go to the bathroom, people were coming by, shaking my hand, wishing us luck. Everybody that got knocked out in the tournament, for the entire tournament, on every single table that me and Jason was on, every single player that got knocked out would shake hands usually with the player that knocked them out, and then maybe say good luck to the rest of the table, and then they would usually leave. But in our case, they would always come over to us and shake our hand and leave, you know. And it was just, you know, very impressive how nice everybody was. We had went to one table where Lee Watkinson was on, and I've been friends with Lee for a long time, and we hadn't said hello yet. He was playing in a hand when I got there, and I was unloading my chips. It was late in day 3, like with an hour and 20 minutes to go, and like in the second hand of being on that table, the guy in the 2 seat, I'm in the 9 seat, we're playing 9-handed, he goes broke. And at this time, he's in the money, so he has to wait for the house to come over and get him and take him to go get paid. And he waits like 30 seconds. He shook hands with the 4 seat that knocked him out. He didn't say anything to the table. He just sat there. I guess he was, you know, disgusted that he got knocked out. And he leaves. And then all of a sudden, I feel a tap on my left shoulder, but because I can't see on the side, I look at Jason, and Jason says, "It's the guy from the 2 seat." So I turn and I look at him, and the guy grabs my arm, and he says, "Good luck to you, Hal. I hope you win." And I said, "Thank you very much." And but you know, I don't know him. And he walks away, and then Lee Watkins says to me, he says, "Hey, Hal," he says, "that's what I was going to say to you." He says, "It'd be a shame that if you don't win for the winner," he says, "because when I look on the computer, all I see is Hal Lubarsky, Hal Lubarsky, Hal Lubarsky." He says, "You know, you're going to overshadow the winner because of how nice and everybody is treating you." You know, like that guy, he says, "I've been playing with the guy for like 9 hours. I joked around with him like 7 hours ago." He said he got knocked out. He didn't say to me good luck. He didn't say to anybody good luck. Here you come. You didn't take a flop with him. You didn't talk to him. You don't know his name. You don't know anything about him. You never seen him before. You play one hand and fold, and now he comes over wishing you luck, hopes you win. You know, he says it's just amazing, you know, how nice the people are being to you. And that's really what I got to remember from this year's World Series, how nice everybody was. It was amazing how the public or the people there or even the other players were hoping that we continue, and especially like ESPN. You know, I know that they wanted us to keep doing well because it made for a good story, but we genuinely feel that they were like genuinely rooting for us. It was like everybody involved was just exceptionally nice.
So what are your plans for the future? Where can we see you next?
Well, we're hoping to play next year again. I kind of like the $10,000 tournaments because they give you longer time and more chips to play. So I kind of think, you know, you can play more like a normal game rather than, you know, let's push it in, and, you know, have the gamble. And so I kind of like that one, and the World Series seems to be the best one. And it's got the most players and, you know, the biggest reward if you can get lucky and win. We got down close. We weren't able to win, but hopefully next year we can, you know, repeat the performance and then maybe have a little bit of luck when we get, you know, close down if we're lucky enough to get down there again. You know, I hope to maybe play in another event before then, like another $10,000 event. Caesars is having one this coming month.
Yep, the Caesars
Maybe
Palace
somehow
Classic.
get in that one or a WPT event before then or something. Maybe play one more $10,000 event or, you know, something else like that.
Thanks, Hal, for your amazing story. I'm Kristy Arnett for Card Player TV. I'll see you at the poker tables.